Looks like you've done that before.
Make sure your microphones are on.
Yeah.
But it's just
I'm resourceful.
Yeah. It's not.
Saw some activities.
You saw me cutting grass today.
I did just be driving by. I almost turned around and said, you were too busy. So I guess something's behind it when I drove by today.
Oh, that's what he does. Yeah, I'm always trained to go to it.
You just,
Yeah, I'm gonna wave outward once I realize we were gone, but.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, which stands one nation under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, if we can start with roll call.
Yes, sir. Scott Meyer.
Yep.
Amy Lawson.
Here.
Chris McCray here. Ed Brand here. Dan Hughey.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. I'll look for a motion to approve the meeting agenda. Is there any changes, Al? Okay,
motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
motion to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion. Motion to consider approving the minutes of April 17th.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business, RDC to consider facade repair grant from request from Jeremy Chastain for Taxman Brewery. Jeremy?
Yep. You go there?
Yes, sir. Please state your name and association to the business.
Jeremy Chastain, I'm one of the minority partners at Taxman, and this is,
Nathan Alsbush, CEO.
so, what we're looking for is to beautify as well as make it more user-friendly, bring in more business in that particular area between the railroad tracks and our building. We're looking at adding some planer boxes that will create a bit of a barrier there between the railroad tracks and then where the customers are seating. Adding some sunshade sails over the top, so it's not so blazing hot.
Yeah.
And then what else was there?
Removing some existing bush from the flower beds and filling that with gravel so that it can be additional seating.
Yeah, so we're gonna take it where it has, those beds have to stay there because there's a drainage area. So we're gonna use that same flat rock that they use. It's really nice looking, that should lay pretty flat, and it'll allow us to hopefully set some tables in there to utilize as well.
I was there on Mother's Day and it was pretty hot on that patio. And a sunshade there would be great. And
Yeah.
I had no idea how many trains go by.
And we want to bring in some lighting into, some
No, it
spring
looks-
lighting, so
The rendering looks really
it
good.
look a little bit, kind of give a vibe of almost like the alley there, where it's a place where,
Yep.
to us, it's like when you're driving that way, especially, it's a big focal part of town, so to have it look nice.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
benefit us, and we also think it benefit the overall vibe of the town.
I have one question. Railroad is pretty particular on their easements.
Mhm.
Are you encroaching any on their easement, or do you think? it'll
We're not
be-
approaching any more than what has been done in the past. And it's my understanding from the past board members that there was a sort of the agreement with the railroad company. It's kind of like, you guys take care of this.
Yeah, we maintain the space, we
Yeah.
cut it, we keep it presentable, and they, to date, never said a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just wondered, they're
Kinda
kind
leave
of
us alone.
touchy sometimes. aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's also why everything that we're doing is not real fixed. The only thing that's kind of be fixed-ish are the poles that will hold the sunshade. Everything else can be moved. So,
And those sunshade supports, those don't go off your concrete into the grass area. They're right on the edge.
they're right on the edge.
So they
Yeah,
really shouldn't complain about that.
they shouldn't. No, they're right on the edge.
Is that the color you're going with? Yellow?
We'll probably do something more neutral, I would think. I don't think yellow is gonna be the final color. Now, if you have a preference, that's fine. Our other ones are like light gray at the other locations.
Just
This is not bright pink, right?
ignore him at that end.
It matched the flowers in the rendering.
No, I think it's great. I mean, I've always thought the town needs some more outdoor seating, and it sounds like you're gonna add a little bit and beautify what you already have, and you know, everybody sees it when they pass the post office there. The sunshades, have you guys used these before on a different?
Cars, downtown. Pizza spot.
Same ones? Is they seem kind of cheap, I guess, $700, and I just want to make sure it's something.
Today, you know, we've never had any issues where the wind tears them apart or anything, but they do. 2 years is about the max use. And then we find new.
So then we'll come down in the winter then probably.
We
I like the concept.
So I see you guys are hoping to use the contractor in the, right dead smack in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Not the low bid, not the high bid. Is
Like
that,
they're a local. They're John Jacoby, local Fortville guy.
right?
So
And then are these actual material costs or?
those were best. Yeah, I took them best. I got quotes from everybody. So they're pretty darn close.
So if you're looking for the middle one, which is the new life,
Yeah.
and then, so if we did half of that, that's 5,300. And if we did, you're looking for half of
Of the material.
material. So we would need, since we don't have a bid for those, we would need actual material costs. You'd be willing to give us those invoices, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we could give you an actual invoice and on that stuff. Yeah.
So if we did half of the
That's probably the
10,000,
best way to handle it is we'll get the material,
right?
save all the receipts, everything.
So you're looking for half of the 10,610, 10, and then half of the material, actual material cost.
Yeah, so that total was 18,110. So half is 9,055.
Thank you for doing the math for us.
Yeah.
But again, if the materials come in a little less than that, then
Yes,
we'll be,
absolutely.
we'll be under that.
Yeah.
So we're looking for
Well, if it
an
goes,
approval of max of
If
90.
it comes over, we won't come back to you on for that. If
okay.
it goes over, that'll be on us.
Motion to approve facade grant for a taxman in Fortville of total of $9,055.
I have one question, sorry.
Sorry,
Dan.
sorry.
So half of New Life would be 5,000, correct?
Yeah, 5,300.
305, and then,
Half of those.
yeah, but if you add those up, so 3,000, 4,000,
Did I do my math?
66.
I thought I just checked it and it was fine.
Three.
Okay. Yeah, you might be right. You calculated it out. I did it real quick in my head and I must have missed something, but yeah, now that I'm
Yes.
looking at it again, it looks correct.
I did
Okay,
go.
just wanted to verify.
18,
Sorry about that.
10 is correct.
Okay.
We still have a
I will second that motion.
motion and a second to approve up to the 9055 for the Taxman facade improvement. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
I,
Any opposed? Congratulations, Jonah.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
You know, guys, the one item to be aware of, and I don't know if it's just the way it's shown on the rendering, but it looks like the sunshades are attached to the building. Oh, okay, because I had heard that that's, if you have a historic building, I guess they
Yeah.
advise on not doing that. Okay. Good.
Thank you, Adam. That's a good.
Thanks. New business, RDC to consider funding request in concept from AAA Property owner 135 East Broadway for a parking lot improvement as an incentive for Carve Market. Who do we have from? Yes, sir.
I can go ahead and,
Okay.
give you some context on this. So as many of you probably know, the old Urban Forest Designs building is for sale or for lease. It's been empty for, oh, maybe a couple of years now. And you are Randy, right?
Right.
Okay, Randy, and he can go into more detail, but Randy and his investment partners are looking, again, to either sell it or lease it. And so there's been a variety of different companies that have expressed interest in doing that. And so at the same time, Jeff Kaiser from Carve Market, and he's on the line here. They're based up in Auburn, Indiana. And I can show you some pictures of their facility there. They basically do a specialty market. And Jeff can go into some more detail here momentarily. But as many of you know, this is a type of use that the town really needs. We're obviously somewhat in a food desert right now for the time being. And so this would provide a benefit not only to the residents, of course, but also hopefully act as a draw to folks visiting Fortville into the TIF district. So to that end, in order to try to incentivize Carve, and they're still working on a deal, what we've proposed here tonight is, and they can go into some more detail as to what the ask actually is. And so what we're trying to accomplish here tonight is to get RDC's feedback on a potential subsidy of some sort, and we'll go into some more detail on that. Specific to this type of use, not blanket for anybody, but specific to this type of use. So with that, Randy, did you want to speak first? And then we can send it over to Jeff?
I'd be happy to. I mean, mainly I wanted to listen. First of all, thank you all for the opportunity.
For the record, sir, could you state your name and?
Randy Hood with AAA Property Investments.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam, for that introduction. I have been working with Dollar Tree for several months, negotiating on a lease. And Crystal Kennard, which is my realtor, just called me 3 or 4 days ago and said, there's a new development with Carve Meat and that the town would be open to that. So that's really why I'm here, to mainly listen and, answer any questions that I can. But we don't have a deal in writing from Carve, but we're open to looking at both of these groups. So the big question for me was the parking lot. With Dollar Tree, I was planning on putting a parking lot in. I talked to, I believe it was Tanya on the phone. And she said that the city might be interested in property tax abatements. And I said, as a landlord, I would be more interested in help with the parking lot versus the tax abatements. And she said, let me, could you come to this meeting? I said, sure. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
So let me pull up the photos from Carve, and then we can talk a little bit more. You share.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, so with that, Jeff, if you wanted to introduce yourself and tell the commission a little bit about your company and what you're hoping to have here in Fortville.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. A little bit about Carve Market. We're a public impact company that's actually owned by Ambassador Enterprises. Ambassador Enterprises is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Carve Market is in Auburn, Indiana. And I've kind of been tasked to find additional locations in what we call mid-sized towns to where we can, our mission is to make a community impact wherever we go. We are not a non-for-profit, but all profits are reinvested into other communities. So we're a little unique where we don't have a high margin demand on us, but we are more community minded versus profit minded. And that's just because we fall into the public impact side of Ambassador Enterprises. But a little bit about me, I've owned and operated grocery stores, meat markets, wholesale distribution. I've been landlords to many buildings and tenants, but I've done that for about 35 years. And this is kind of my end of career fun project to get to go around and help out communities that are in the process of rebuilding. In Auburn, it's worked very well. We restored an old building, as you can see in the photos. It used to be an old car dealership, and we dry iced the ceiling and brought it back to its original wood, and just spent a lot of attention to detail, making it a nice, pleasant place to shop. And we are more about creating a destination and an experience for the consumer. We kind of put quality first, not just in products, but employees, development of youth. Everything we do comes from quality first, from people to service to products. We will not be a Meijer, or a Walmart isn't really our competitor. We would be something totally different than that. Hard to find local products, just things that, like I say, one thing that we say, everything we sell or everything we cut usually has a story behind it. It's just one of those things because of the way we've operated, we've been in business just over a year. We actually opened the facility you're looking at in April of 24. And it's very hard to believe, but in today's world, we've created an atmosphere where we don't get price complaints. Number one, we're priced fair because we don't need super high margins. But we've created an experience and taken care of people so well when they come into the place that, price is just an afterthought. We just don't hear it. And being in the supermarket business for 35 years, I heard that every day. I heard somebody's milk is a different price than mine. This is a situation where the milk that we carry, it's in a glass bottle and it's different. They'll talk to us about how good the milk is, not about what the price is. So we're a little bit of a different retailer coming in to where, like I say, we're very based on relationships, experiences, try to spend the time with the customer, a lot of what doesn't exist in the big city, and I kind of looked at Fortville, and I looked at the grocery store in town, and I see that in a lot of towns that I was in. You're faced with, you're probably not getting a full line grocery store to come into Fortville. You probably, you'll get somebody within a few miles. Maybe a Meijer or Kroger locates midway between Engels or Pendleton or Fishers, and I'm sure there's one probably already in the works. And that doesn't bother us because that's not who we are, but that's going to be kind of your options for a market. You know, if your population's under whatever, 10,000 people, it's hard to go in and spend money to revamp a full-blown grocery store. So, you know, you're kind of stuck with driving a few miles out of town to get to a Meijer or, you know, having a specialty grocery store. That's kind of just my past experience where I see it heading. But we've, you know, there's a lot of things that make us different, and we like Fortville. We'd like to locate there. We think the town is very well managed, run, attention to how you're developing the housing in town. I mean, we align with all those thoughts. Since we're not in this for, so to say, the money, you know, we want to make sure the town is strong and stable and heading in the right direction. And that's kind of what I've been convinced of that with my dealings with Adam. But, you know, we're super interested in, you know, the developing youth, giving youth a good place to call their first job, looking back and saying they was treated right. They was, you know, they learned how to work. They learned how to show up on time. That's all part of our mission and why we just want to develop, kids to be better adults and have a good feeling about when, you know, after they leave and go on to a successful career, they can take something from Carve Market that they learned. So, but anyway, that's kind of us in a nutshell. We primarily consider ourselves a fresh cut meat market that can custom cut, you know, a 1 inch, a 2 inch thick ribeye, whatever. You know, we can do it, you know, on demand. We have butchers on staff, open to close for the most part. So, you know, it's just a different, you're not just stuck taking what's out there in the case at a Meijer at whatever time. You know, and our beef comes locally from actually not too far from Fortville. So we really focus on, like I say, local and quality and just becoming part of a community, you know. So do you have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I looked at you actually mentioned Ambassador Enterprises, and it looks like it's a very interesting concept. I like some of the things I saw on their website also. For the board, it said missionally aligned team. We seek to partner with leaders focused on creating a lasting impact. Our value honors God, respect others, add value, and shape our decisions and interactions. So it sounds like a company's been around for a while and has done some really good things. What your pictures of your store in Auburn look like is we have a Kincaid's Market in Fishers and in Carmel. It has some of the similar things you're talking about, plus local products. It's just look, it looks like actually a nicer, broader extension than what I saw at Kincaid's when last time I was in there. So this is would be a very interesting property to add to downtown Fortville.
And we would be very similar, except, and I'm familiar with Kincaid's, Moody's, Joe's Butcher Shop, those guys all down there. And we would be similar, except I think with an elevated product line of quality and also experience. I hate to keep using that word experience, but kind of one of our mottos is we sell relationships first, and then we think about selling meat second. You know, we want to be part of the community and, you know, just get to know the people, and that's how we train our employees. So, you know, that's where we're a little different, but your comparisons were right on in terms of product and what it would be like. It'd be like nothing that Fortville has now.
If I understand it right, you're leasing this building to put your business in, right?
That's what we would propose, yes.
Yes, isn't that quite an investment to go into a lease program like that?
quite an investment to buy the building as well, you know, and,
Well, I realize that, but you know, if Fortville don't produce, what are your, well, you don't know, but what would be your plans?
well, we've got the data from Auburn. And we feel with traffic counts, we would have to, traffic counts, Fortville should be better than our Auburn location. So we have the ability to adjust on the fly and change the business model in some way, shape or form, whether it's adding product lines, discontinuing product lines. So I would hope neither Randy, if Randy, the owner of the building, or I had too much concern, you know, one of us is going to back out before we get to that point. And because in reality, this would be about a $750,000 equipment investment based on leasing about a half or a third of it. And it probably would be in the neighborhood of $500,000+ in renovation. So we're going to make it work. You know, if we have $1.5 million invested, you know, we're going to be pretty sure about the town.
Thank you. Don't get me wrong. I like what I see. But it's just a question.
Yeah. Well, I guess if that does go sideways, you'll be talking to somebody other than me, probably is what's going to happen. So, but no, that's, you know, all kidding aside, we're not like, that's the nice thing. We're not required, by margins like a normal private equity company would be. We are on the impact side. So, they do take a look at the investment dollars or the capital that they put towards this project has no bearing on my return on investment. That is money that the owner is setting aside to benefit communities. So I'm only judged on operational functions. So I'm the one guy that can come to Fortville with a $0 investment. I just have to make sure my lease is right, my expenses are right, so that I can operate at a break even or hopefully, you know, positive margins. So my owner is never expecting anything out of the money that he puts into the building.
And I think,
Okay, thank you for your information.
I just looked up Auburn. Auburn has a population of about 13,000, so it's about 2.5 times size of Fortville. So it'd be a little smaller component, but we are adding, and we got McCordsville right around us. The McCordsville residents, I think, would also view this as a positive to have in our area. So then all of a sudden, I think we're darn close to being the size of Auburn if you added McCordsville and us. So that's a couple additional thoughts from me.
So then what's the act?
Well, and that's a great segue. So I'll just tee this up. So first, in terms of the ask, and I'll let them fulfill it, but just to tee it up, if a dollar store were to go in to the project, my recommendation would be that the town provide no sort of incentive for that. Let the free market work on that, and if that's the direction they want to go, so be it. What I would argue is for a type of use like this that the town really needs, I think it's well known that it's needed, that some sort of level of town financial participation would make sense. What the correct number is certainly up to you all, whatever number, if at all, you feel comfortable with it. But in terms of the dollar amount, we'll get to that in a second, but the way to go about doing it is, as you know, there's a few different ways that you can provide incentive. One way is through a tax abatement, though the only thing is, and we do have Tyler Oakes on the line with Bose McKinney filling in for Alex tonight. One way that, of course, is the most typical is through a tax abatement. My understanding on those tax abatements is you can only abate, in this case, the remodel. any valuation that goes up from today. You can't abate beyond that. So that's certainly a possibility if you wanted to go that route. The other possibility that was discussed is participating in funding of the parking lot improvements. So if you recall, just north of the Urban Forest Designs building, there's kind of this triangular piece of land that is empty and not used right now. And that's where they would like to put some parking. If we went that route, and Tyler can provide more info if you need it, if you went that route and provided some sort of subsidy for the parking, then the recommendation from Alex was to do a lease, basically like a 99-year lease with a $1 a year payment. It would therefore technically be a public parking lot, and the town would be in charge of maintenance of that, likely snowplow removal, possible repairs, things of that nature. So that seemed to be, based on our advice from Alex, the way to go. But in terms of the dollar amount, if you wanted to clarify what the cost of that would be to put in the parking lot and how much you'd be asking the RDCs
A
for.
few factors I'll talk about. First of all, I'm thrilled to hear that about Carve because I was totally unfamiliar with Carve, knew nothing about them. I did just check their website yesterday, but love the mission and feel like it'd be a wonderful enhancement to Fortville. The complications arise, the building is 11,703 square feet. That's what I'm talking to Dollar Tree about. Leasing the whole thing. Carve only needs 3,200 to 3,300 square feet of the 11,703. So that's a big thing that I have, as a landlord, have to look at, a big difference. With negotiating with Dollar Tree, I'm prepared to put in the parking lot. They've had their people do extensive work and get an estimate. The estimate's $275,000. If we go another route and I cut from 11,703 square feet down to 3,200 square feet, I have to have multiple tenants in the building, have to rework that. And that's where this came up on, the parking lot. So I have to look at all those things. Of course, the town has to look at all those things. The first I had heard about the town owning the lot was maybe an hour before I came from Crystal. I really am probably not interested in that because, none of us can predict the future. I applaud you all, but you may not be here in 5 years. I would still have that building, and without parking for the building is not worth much money. So I have really zero
To clarify, it
interest
would be a lease.
Be a lease. We
It
wouldn't
would-
own
The
property.
town would lease the parking from you guys.
in- Okay,
Not
Town would not own it.
okay. I'd have to have control of that parking lot, for multiple tenants, not just
Yeah.
Carve.
Yeah,
Unless
it's still a
Carve's,
parking lot.
unless Carve's wanting to take the whole building, which I don't have an LOI from Carve. We just started talking, negotiating, but 3,200 square feet to 11,000 square feet, we're probably going to have multiple tenants.
And since we're on that subject, Tyler, is my assumption correct that the other way is that the town could do a typical 10-year abatement on the remodel of the building? So if it was a $500,000 remodel, that we can abate that?
That is my understanding. I know Alex and I didn't discuss that much, and that's obviously something that's much more in his wheelhouse. So we can certainly get you clarification on that. But at this point, that's my understanding.
But it sounds to me that you're kind of still in a position, we don't know what the resolution is. They need a third of your building, almost a third of your building. We don't know what the solution is for the other 2/3 of the building is. And you don't know what it looks like for us to lease the parking lot.
Right. There are a few unknowns. I mainly wanted to come and see if there's great interest in pursuing this from the town's point of view. I'm a businessman. I have to try to get a return on investment from the building. I know what I've been negotiating with Dollar Tree. This was a curveball right at the end. And when I heard it, I said, wow, sounds like the perfect fit for Fortville. It's a business that I personally like. My son, raises beef, and we love the farm to table concept. And I said, it's a local business versus a national chain.
Well, I'm gonna speak solely for me, and I'll probably throw up if Dollar Tree comes to town. I'm just telling you. To me, that's a scar on this town.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed with them. You haven't gathered that yet.
I'm not either.
But I'm one person. So, yeah, but you're a businessman and I respect that. So we really don't know what we're looking for. I mean, you got some things to negotiate. I think from the looks of my fellow board members here, I think there's a lot of interest in the project.
Okay.
I'll let them speak for themselves. There's a lot of interest from my perspective to help Carve come in and do what we need to do. And I think, just from what little I've heard about the project, I would fully support some way of making this happen for Carve, especially when I hear about Dollar Tree coming in.
The
I'm
representative,
just not good with that, but that's not my call.
I would concur with our chair.
So what do you plan to do with the extra space?
I got a preliminary drawing yesterday from Carve, and we'll have to try to work that so we can divide the building so that there's access for either one or multiple tenants to come in the back way. And Carve would get the front there with the front door and about halfway over in the front glass with the first garage door.
So you talking about other businesses or restaurants
Yes.
or?
Some other type of business.
So for the representative from Carve, your building in Auburn, your store in Auburn, have there been other entities that have located at or around you because of what you brought into Auburn? Just kind of curious.
Actually, that's a great question. We actually own most of the property all around it, and we're developing a duck pin bowling. We purchased an old YMCA, and we're working with some guys that do golf simulators, duck pin bowling. But
You're making it kind of a destination.
Yeah, we're just trying to create a alley of a certain spot. We already have a microbrewery right across the street but yeah, we're just trying to, a theater is another one that's in concept but no, we own the property, so no, it has not been developed yet.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing if I can. I totally understand Randy's position on, I've owned buildings and I initially have looked at this building, but I did back out of it because I do understand the devaluation of his building. If I come in and take the prime spot, I wanted to be respectful until I started talking to Crystal. I thought there's no sense if he's got someone wanting all the space. I've been in his position before. So that does not change my interest in Fortville at all. If this goes a different direction, I just look for a different building. So, I mean, I believe in what you guys got going on in the town, and I like his spot, but I understand I put him in some big challenges of the additional space that he has left, because I am taking the premium spot of that building, but I also feel I need that spot for visibility. So,
Absolutely.
Hey, Jeff, that current location of Carve looks like it's half groceries, half restaurant or cafe.
yeah,
Is there initial thoughts
Yeah.
of bringing both of those ideas to Fortville?
yeah. Our model there, we're about 70% meat, 15% grocery, and about 15% deli and cafe. So the cafe is a little bit of a smaller portion of our business, but since I haven't been in a lot of contact with Randy, and this is all pretty new here. The square footage that we would take would be based a little bit on what business model we bring into there. We also do smoked ribs, smoked chicken halves, pulled pork, catering. With somebody mentioned the population was about a third of Auburn. We didn't want to go in with a full-blown model and say that we're going to have a cafe, a smokehouse and all that right off the get-go. So that would be future possibilities, but the cafe, yeah, we could start off with that, but that's right now the data shows that's such a small part of our business that I didn't have initial plans for that.
I would encourage you to kind of reevaluate that, and don't go by our last census. Because the number of homes we've approved in this community that I've been fortunate to be a part of is astonishing. And they're not done, and there's more neighborhoods coming. So I think you have a unique product there that's going to draw people from Ingalls, Pendleton, McCordsville. And just in quiet conference here, you guys have the support of this committee to figure something out.
Thank you.
So we don't know what that is. You haven't asked for anything yet, but I think everybody up here is pretty excited about it. Is there any other questions for Randy or Jeff?
Yeah, the one reason why I brought up the kind of your business model, Jeff, was because I noticed in that Auburn location, you had some outdoor seating, and that may not be a viable option here, just given the property and just, lack of outdoor space, I guess. The building probably takes up most of the lot, I would imagine. But maybe that cafe space inside, grows a little bit. Because as Scott mentioned, our population is growing, and I think of out close to these guys, the Harmony Dentistry guys at Urban Apples, out in Westfield, I think it is. They kind of have a unique little cafe, but that place it draws people from Fortville. So I think people will find you here, and so maybe that retail space inside grows from 3,300 to something a little larger, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I'm in support of what you're doing, Jeff.
Well, thank you.
I think you've got the council's support. We just got to see a plan. There's too many things out here. I mean,
There's got to be a way not to have a Dollar Tree in this town.
I understand
I'd be any more clear about the street.
I understand your position,
Thank you.
and I like his product.
I do too.
I'd like to see it in Fortville. But sharing space with another business could help him or hinder him.
Mhm. And me as well.
Yes.
If there was a way that Fortville could come up and help Carve to get the whole building, I mean, I'm willing to give on my end to try to get that done instead of a Dollar Tree. But 3,300 square feet to 11,700 is a long way without some help or creative thinking. So maybe we can put our heads together and come up with something, and then
Maybe throw another pizza place in there with it. Not have 6 or 7. I mean, why not?
Duck pin bowling. You already have the idea.
Well,
What do you need to do in town?
You didn't come with a specific ask, but I think you should leave here with the confidence that we're here to help. We're very interested in helping both sides make it work. So get to work.
well, this is the first time we've met and talked, and so now that we have that communication channel open, we will work on our end, see what we can put together, and then come back
Thank you.
and see if we can get this done instead of Dollar Tree.
That would be awesome. I'm on your side. All right. Anything else from this committee for Randy or
I
Jeff?
just want to ask some real quick.
Yes.
Jeff, remind me, and for the group, what's the square footage approximately of the market in Auburn?
6,000 square feet.
And so that's the biggest, because that's your only location at this point, right?
That's the only location, and we've looked at several other locations that are ranging from right at 3,000 square feet up to 4,500 square feet. And that's where we think our sweet spot for risk is.
Gotcha.
You know, and I do want to reiterate that for me, it's not about the build out cost. It's about the operating cost because our owner's very generous on giving me a chunk of change and not so much about going back to the well for more money.
Dan and Chris said they'd volunteer their time.
There you go. We could use that. Yep.
Anything we can do to help, we're here.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your time.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Dollar Tree and a Dollar General.
Nope. Moving on, new business item B, RDC to consider paying the facade repair grant request for Harmony Dentistry, 406 South Maple.
Denied.
Welcome back. You've been asking us for money.
Hi, how are you guys? I'm David Bach from AD Realty. So, we had a facade grant approved a while back for our property over at 406 South Maple. So we've completed the scope of what we were asking for at that point. So we'd like to revisit it to get the invoice paid for it.
Oh, we were just kidding.
It looks really good.
So what was the dollar amount of our original approval?
$67,472 committed back in December 2024.
Seems like just yesterday. So the balance due is 74.
It's already paid. That's just the invoice. There's a separate receipt for it. So you'll see there was a down payment we did on it.
Right.
And then that invoice was the last one we just paid off.
So your grand total was 136,332.
Correct. We had to rip off the decking on the roof because it was not going to hold the new roof on it.
So
it went up
We
a
all have
little
our
bit.
calculators out.
So actually, what is the dollar number you're asking for the voucher is?
we approved 67,472 and their half at this point is 68,166, a difference of $700.
Right.
Did I hear you right? You already paid this. Now you're just saying to get reimbursed by us.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you've shown proof of all that. So,
It's here.
yep.
We would have to reapprove this if we're gonna increase it, or if we're gonna tell them to suck up the $700, that's on you guys.
I think we should increase it.
Well, then make a motion.
I'll make a motion to increase the amount to 68,166.
Second.
Wow. Are you sure? We have a motion and a second to approve / amend our prior approval from 67,472 to 68,166. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you guys.
It looks
Thank
really
you.
good. Like it
Oh, it looks nice.
so good.
We should be able to get you a check. We should be able to get you a check by, say, December.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Review of
Come back
financials.
again.
All right.
Yeah.
Financials, real quick. We'll just breeze through these. One is an invoice from Krohn Associates.
Oh, we're gonna move to invoices.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. If you want to do financials first, go ahead.
Any questions on the financials?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Invoices.
All right, sorry. The first one's OW Krohn for about 2,500. That had to do with the RDC annual report. The second one is from Veridus Group. That was for almost the remaining balance for that developer roundtable meeting that we had, 2 of them. And then the Brandeis invoice for 5937 was already paid. That was related to the demolition of the houses along Broadway. Then we've got Transcend Robotics. Of course, you remember from the last meeting, 160,500. And then last but not least, were three invoices that Missy already paid, again, related to the demolition of the houses on Broadway.
I'm getting back to the robotics invoice. Does that
Mhm.
mean the equipment has already been received or it's been shipped? I just want to make sure it's,
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
yeah, I mean, I think I'm fine approving it, but I just noticed bottom of the invoice, it says it's their pellet freight shipping to Greenville, Indiana. So I'm hoping that's just a typo.
Yeah. Most likely.
Thank you.
Unless, you know what, they probably meant Greenfield.
Yeah, I think they did, but
Yeah.
details.
Different places though.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
confident the police department's not gonna let this go to the wrong spot.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they buy stolen equipment anyway, so, you know. Whatever.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoices as presented.
Second,
Motion and a second. To approve invoices, any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. They're busy doing something else. Staff comments.
Nothing for me unless you have any questions on things.
Board comments.
I have one. I think in the past board meetings, we made a motion that with anybody that was presenting or asking for facade money was to be here in person. Now,
When possible.
I don't agree with that.
Okay. I thought,
That now,
I'm just going back to what we discussed.
Okay.
Go on with.
the presentation tonight that was given was good, perfect. I could understand it. It was very well presented. But I still think that if an individual is wanting to come to Fortville and want us to give them tax money, they should come here in person. And if they can't, they should work it into their schedule. That's my feeling on that.
yeah.
It does say the final report is in person on
Well, yes, but I'm talking about when somebody comes wanting some facade money, like Carve, I know. That was very well presented, very understandable. I didn't have a problem with that, but some of them I do.
I think when all reasonable, they should be here in person. So I think the person requesting last month, I think she was locally based, but came in through Zoom, and I would say it was very difficult to understand here. Some of that was on our end, but I think whenever possible, I would agree with that.
And even sometimes when the attorney is zooming, whether it's us or them, sometimes it's hard to understand them. So I don't know whether that's something that our audio and can be improved or whatever or what, but I still believe that anybody wanting to present something to this board should be here in person.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have the interest, enough interest to come in and ask in person for money, then maybe we just don't give you real money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, Ed. And I'm trying to think back, and of course, you know,
I think,
hard for me.
I think it was mentioned, but I don't know exactly what was said.
I feel like we discussed it when we were at the park in the community building there, and there were a lot of connectivity issues there.
But we
And I
have,
think that was-
we have connective issues here
Yeah.
too.
But in general, I'm in agreement, but it's not my decision. It's everybody in the joint decision. If we change it to have to be in person, or, I mean, you're causing yourself a lot of headache if you can't be here to ask for an exception. Unless you want to take a vote by email for an exception. I don't know what that would be, or just say, be in person all the time.
Or
So
do you need a motion?
what we could do then, if the board's inclined, is we could simply add to our guidelines sheet, amend this and say whenever possible, the applicant shall present their request, their request in person at a meeting.
And I don't disagree with Ed that I think whenever possible leaves the door open. That
It could be a rule and they apply for an exception. If there's some extenuating circumstance that makes sense, then the board reviews it.
This is our program. We can say whatever we want.
I mean, it's on
I mean,
here that the
this-
final
it
report
is.
has to be in person.
I mean, to attend the meeting and speak in the meeting, I don't think we can't require people to be here in person, but come in and ask for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So
Hey, we already had public comment. You're not allowed to talk now. You want to speak?
Yeah.
Oh, well, come on up. Just for the record, we are going back to board or public comment.
Property owner. He didn't even know who I was. I talked to him on the phone. Tanya Davis, Fortville Town Council. To make it clear, I'm the one that started this. They're not asking you for anything. It was me providing some sort of incentive for Randy to do the lease with, the reduction of space and all that. It was because we feel like it's probably the best thing for the town.
Yeah.
And then when I found out that the other option was Dollar Tree, I said, no. I said, we don't want Dollar Tree here. I will tell you that I entertained an idea with him about looking into Strauss for Dollar Tree. And maybe if he doesn't accept that lease with them, they might go over there and see what's available for them there. But it was me that initiated that. So they're not coming here asking you for anything. Jeff is not asking you for anything. Obviously, you can tell.
I didn't have any problem with him coming.
Yeah, and I was kind of,
No ask for money.
and I didn't talk to him prior to me talking to the landlord or the property owner. I hadn't had a conversation with Jeff, so he never asked me to do that. We thought it was important that this particular person in their organization who goes in and does this restoration on towns and sort of thing, come to Fortville. You can tell by the things that he said, what are the important things for their business. And that's important for us too. So that's why we felt like we should offer some kind of incentive to make that happen, to help Jeff. He looked at a lot of properties. As a matter of fact, the day he came here, he wanted to be on Main Street, and that was the day that what's the hydration place signed their lease. And that's the one he was looking at. So, and I think that he's always looking, and he'll continue to look if he doesn't lease here too. But I just wanted you guys to know that it was me that initiated that. They're not
We
coming here
appreciate that.
asking for money. So
that was great.
they're not asking you for anything. And I kind of just,
Well, obviously, in full disclosure, we've talked about it.
yeah.
And I knew what what was going on, but I was a little set back that they didn't have an idea what they wanted to do. I thought these guys were already talking the way.
No, I see this, and I'm gonna, the real estate agent, I think, has caused a little bit of that, but I think they finally have a channel of communication open now where they can talk back and forth. And I hope that they do that.
I thought we made it pretty clear,
And
our desires here.
he didn't really understand the parking lot lease, so I went out to explain to him like Alex explained it to me, so I'm gonna explain it to you the way Alex explained it to me. A 99-year lease, $1 a year, we maintain, we share the parking lot like we do with the funeral home and like we would do with them if they're doing the funeral home thing. It's the same thing, but it gives us also, we'll try to coincide with the hours of the tenants there, and we won't just take over the parking lot. So it'll be a similar type share that we do with just about every business we have parking with in town. And then it just relieves him from having to maintain it. So we're going to maintain it. So that was the discussion that Alex and I had about the lease. Excuse me. He didn't know that. So I explained that to him too.
Thank you.
For $2 a year?
If you feel it's necessary.
I think if we get them to come to town, they're gonna bring things to town.
And I think that you guys felt the same way I did when I first met him, how incredible his whole program is and what they're really, and I don't know how many times he said, it's not the money that they make, it's the relationships that they make, you know, so why wouldn't you want somebody like that here?
And his history of his past. He knows the grocery store business.
And he's not a bit afraid of it, so he knows it's here to get, so.
As we talked a little bit more about it, I was a little disappointed. He's only looking at 3,300 square feet.
Just talked about that. Is he still on, Jeff Hall?
No.
I think that we should try to help him do this duck pin bowling thing. Or a similar type thing.
Yeah.
In the rest of that building, so it becomes a family operation. I don't know who or how. That's not, you know, I've got my head in somewhere I don't belong right now, but I'm just telling you that this could be a better
Huge
thing.
opportunity.
And I don't think he'd be against that. That's just not the model that they're working off of, but their duck pin stuff that they're trying to create in Auburn hasn't really been up and running, so they don't know what it'll do. So I think that's probably why it's not a model that he's looking at right now.
Like to see him.
Mhm.
That'd be great.
And he would too.
Yeah.
He said the same thing.
I mean, you
so.
could do a lot of things in there that are popular now, that axe throwing and all that. I mean,
Oh.
there's just a lot of, in that size of a building, you could do
Yeah.
indoor firing range. I'm in. You're your own bee. Thank you, Tanya, for, and I hope they
Thank
both
you.
gathered that we're on board. I probably could have been a little more clear about how I feel about Dollar Tree, but sometimes I have trouble speaking my mind.
As a landlord.
Okay, so going back to, now that we're done being interrupted, I personally like the idea of just requiring to be here in person.
Yeah, and then they can, if there's an odd exception, they need to ask. ahead of
They can
time,
ask.
And we can either choose to.
Is
say yes
everybody
or
on
no.
board with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you better be.
I
Chris?
started.
Yeah, you know, if I was on the other side of it, asking, there could be some time sensitive instances. So say you were trying to get something painted before the winter time, and then something came up in your life and which prevented you from being here in person. I think, yes, I think with an
And that's something
exception,
that he can put out and
correct.
we can discuss via email quickly
Yeah.
and make a decision for that, like we have done
Yeah, I
in the
think,
past.
yeah, life happens for people, and I think there could be
Okay.
a cause for exception, yeah.
So can you add that, Adam, please?
Yep.
Sure will.
They come every month.
Well, look what we're doing.
They're over there Googling duck pin bowling.
Yeah.
Well,
Any other board comments?
I did send a quick link to the equity partners behind Carve for us to look at to the board. I think I sent to you and Joe and Adam also. And then I also sent a brief write-up from their equity partners website about the owner of Carve and his wife and so forth. So we get a little more feel for them too. I was very impressed with what I read for both places.
Cool. Any other board comments?
Bye.
I have one. We're saying goodbye to our friend and trader neighbor, Amy. This is her last meeting. How many years?
5.
Oh, holy crap. I've been putting up with you for a long time.
With me, you mean
I think
getting the
I
privilege?
think I
sit
speak
next
for
to me for 5
everyone.
years?
Thank you very much for your service to this community.
Yeah.
And we wish you nothing but the best, but you're still a trader.
That sounded way cooler than when I was here 11 years ago.
Yes, it is.
Adjourn at
We'll give,
7:33.
Second.
motion to adjourn. All in favor? Motion
Amen.
carries.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks.
Customers, huh?